Welcome to Health, Wealth, Wisdom Parents Edition Super Summit. Your host for this session is Patrice Porter. She is the creator of programs such as Got Dirt, Gardening for Kids, and Fabulous Family Futures. She is also a #1 best-selling author. Welcome your super host, Patrice.
And welcome everyone, and also welcome Dr. Michelle Peticolas. I will get you up on the screen. I see you here. There we are. There you are. Welcome, welcome. And Michelle is a complex grief coach, and she helps those people who are stuck in their grief and others to make peace with their past and reclaim their life and dreams. Welcome, Michelle. So tell me a little bit about yourself and becoming a grief coach and why it's so important to help folks, through their grieving process and help them reclaim their life.
Well, thank you, Patrice, for a great opening question and for your introduction. It is important because all of us are going to experience loss at some point in our lives. I was watching a movie the other night, and it was about this young man who lost the love of his life. And it goes through his whole grief process. And it actually enabled me to talk to my husband, because the reality is that one of us is going to predecease the other. It's just the way things happen. The chances of us dying at the same time, unless we get killed in a car accident, are very slim. And watching this person on the movie going through that grief was riveting and eye-opening. And so I talked a little bit to my husband about, well, what if I go first? Which I might, because I'm older than him. So grief is something we need to deal with as human beings. As I told you that when we talked in our mini session, human beings are social creatures, and we are wired to bond. And when that bond is broken, the grief is the response of the body to the loss. It's a natural response, and it's a difficult response. But let me go back and talk to you a little bit about my own journey and why this is so important to me. If you had known me when I was younger, I would have been the last person on earth you would have thought to be a grief coach. Why? Because I had no idea what I was feeling. I had totally shut down my emotions. Now, I've had a story about why that happened. Something to do with growing up in a large family, growing up in a time when human beings in my culture were not encouraged to express their feelings. But I had a story about my father being transferred to Japan when I was only 2. And psychology has discovered that early childhood trauma, even if it's small trauma, can have a huge impact on the development of your mind and your emotions. So that was my excuse, my explanation. But listening to what we're doing today, talking to parents, is that maybe my parents influenced me. My father lost his mother when he was 10 years old. I don't know if he ever dealt with that loss. And my mother had a father who was alcoholic and spent much of her childhood praying that he would overcome his addiction to alcohol. Sometimes parents transmit this even when they're not intending. So my talk today with you is to open parents' eyes and minds to the possibility of how they may be impacting their children by the way in which they deal with their losses and grief.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. And you had mentioned about, when people get stuck in their grief, as you said, like your father, like he lost his mother when he's 10, and there's probably a part of him that is just stuck there still, never ever
Never realized. Yeah.
being able to express it, or yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's
So,
interesting. My father died from Alzheimer's, and part of the time that he was in a nursing home, he cried a lot. And my mother said, you know, I think he had a lot to cry about.
mm, yeah,
Interesting, huh?
yeah, yeah. Like it's as you said, it's a natural process. We
Yes,
all
yes,
go through this. You need to go
yes.
through, and so give us some tips or how that you um
How do I
see.
deal with it?
Yeah,
Yes, and
yeah.
how do I see it? Okay, so two things. First, the big number one tip, allow your emotions. Now, most people are hesitant to allow their emotions because the grief at the loss of a parent or child is so huge that you almost feel like you're going to melt and never return. The reality is that grieving is natural, and that when you allow your emotions to flow and you don't get into your story about those emotions, you can release that emotion in 2 minutes or less. And that's what I teach my clients, is how to do that so that they don't get swamped or overwhelmed by their emotions. And then by releasing the emotions, they don't get stuck in your body. Now, here's the thing. This is really important. Like I told you, my father was crying in his late life because he had never grieved the loss of his mother, or that's my interpretation. That those emotions stay in our body and they erupt at the most unexpected moments. They just come out. And when they usually come out is when we've had a recent loss. So when we have a recent loss that is significant, all the other losses that we've never grieved rise to the surface and show up. And that's what I call complex grief, because sometimes all that grief is overwhelming to a person and they don't know where to begin.
So with that, you say where to begin.
Where to
So
begin?
where to begin? Where is that? Like expressing your emotions,
Yes,
but even
allowing
being
them.
able to tap
Pardon?
into your, even being
How?
able to tap into your emotions.
Yes, yes. So the body, there's a book that says the body knows the score. Well, the body does know the score. The body is telling you all the time what's going on. But most of us in early childhood were taught to shut down our awareness of our bodies. We were sent to school, put in tiny desks, and told not to wiggle and not to speak. And so we learned to, because we wanted to wiggle, right? We wanted to giggle, we would have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
fun, but no, 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 you have to be quiet and you have to be good. And so we learned how to control these bodies. So when I was growing up, I was cut off from my body. I hung out in my brains. And by the way, I love my brains. They're really smart. But I had no idea what was going on inside my body. I had to kind of take an elevator down to get a sense of what was going on. I actually have done a number of practices that have helped me to reconnect with my body. And that's something that I also teach my clients and people who work with me. Or even if you have a consultation, a short consultation with me, and if that is your issue, is not being able to allow your feelings, I can help you do that.
Could you tell us one tip of tapping into your body?
Sure. So what I do is I'll kind of give you a little bit of a demonstration. I ask you to close your eyes and take deep breaths until you're really centered and in the moment. So everybody out there, go ahead and take a deep breath. Try it out. And with each breath, breathe in the oxygen, bringing it in through the top of your head, bringing in all the wisdom of heaven or the outer world, bringing it into your heart. And as you exhale, releasing all the tension, all the worries, all the things that are upsetting and stressing you out through the soles of your feet. down deep into the earth, sending it through roots that grow out of the soles of your feet. And now I want you to tap into your body and check from the top of your head to the soles of your feet to the tips of your toes. Where in your body are you holding? Where is there pain? Where is there blockage? And just breathe for a moment and find out. Is it in your head? Is it in your sinuses? Are you holding it in your jaws? Are you clenching your teeth? What about your neck? What about your shoulders? Do you feel like you're carrying a heavy weight on your shoulders? What about your heart? Is your heart aching? Or underneath your lungs, the solar plexus, do you feel tight and constricted there? Or your belly? Or your back? Your thighs, knees, calves, and feet. And when you have figured out where your block is, and you may have many, you want to focus on the one that is speaking to you the loudest and breathe into that area. And with each breath, sending your love and attention. And as you pay attention to that area, see if that area, like you say, jaw, what are you trying to say to me? What do you need to tell me right now? Now, sometimes your body may not want to tell you because it's too afraid. But if you listen, it might send you a vision or a sound or a song or words that tell you what you need to know. And that is the way that you tap into where it is that you're holding your emotions, where it is that you need to focus on. And when I work with people and they focus on that, sometimes when they talk about what their body is telling them, it brings the tears, it brings the release. So was there something that you noticed in your body?
It was my neck,
Your neck?
and
Yes, yes.
yeah, like it's too much going on here. You need to give me a break.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
yeah.
So the neck
But
is also the throat, and this is where we express ourselves. And when there is a constriction or an aching in the, there may be something that you need to say. So you might
right.
want to tap in with your throat and say, okay, what do I need to say right now? What do I really need to say right now? Now you don't have to disclose
No,
yourself
no,
right
no,
now,
no,
but
no, 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 I'm not. We're here
but
for the audience, and I
yeah,
appreciate that. But
yeah,
now, so there we've learned how we can tap in and find these places where the emotions and that are trapped, and really listening to our body.
listen to our
Then,
bodies.
but then, so how is it that you start to make peace with your past, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed?
Yes. So how do you make peace with your past? Well, when I work with somebody, inevitably, what is there shows up. I was talking to a client recently, and she totally revealed to me all the stuff that went on between her and her mother, things that really upset her. And afterwards, she said, I can't believe I told you all this stuff. And I said, no, first of all, I've heard everything. So I am a safe place for you to unload that, because otherwise, it's going to be stuck in your body. And so she felt this great uplifting because all this heaviness, these secrets she was holding on to. So when you release that, and when you forgive yourself, and when you forgive the person who perpetrated that in you, that's when you make peace with your past.
Wow, wow, and And just it starts with recognizing and then releasing, hey? And so then now we started to recognize, release.
Yes.
Now we
Oh,
want to,
so
okay, I missed something.
I have an acronym that will help you to understand the process that I use, and it's
Okay,
called SERVE. So first
okay.
is S for surrender, and that means to surrender to your emotions, whatever they are, whether it's anger or it's grief or it's fear, to surrender, but not to let your mind jump in and recycle the emotions. If you just focus on the sensations, like I just talked you through, then those emotions will actually release in 2 minutes or less. So that's surrender. The next one is E, which is what I call engage. Remember, I told you we're social beings and wired to
Mm.
bond? We need people. You cannot do this process. You shouldn't do this process alone. That's what I told my husband. I said, if I die first, you need to reach out to people you can trust. You cannot do this alone. So that's
Yeah.
engage. Then the next one is R, is reframe. The whole process of grief is about changing the story of your past and changing the story of where you're going. And when I work with people, I work with them through their whole life story to see how the particular loss they're going through now and all the losses on their way have led them on their hero or heroine's journey to where they are now. The next one is express. And that means, oh, no, is vision. Sorry, I was not spelling the word right. Vision, which is what is your vision for your future now? Now that you have reframed your story, where can you go? And finally, the last E is express. So it's not enough just to have a vision. You have to materialize it. You need to put it into the material world. So that's my system, taking you through the process of grief and recovery.
Wow. Simple. Hey, no.
It,
But
yeah, it takes, it's a process. It's a process, but it's a great process.
yeah, yeah. And I like that too, that not trying to do it alone and that you can offer that to folks. So with that, like, what is it that you want people to be able to take away from this if they implement this your acronym and method?
Oh,
What are you hoping that people will then experience?
well, I'm talking to the parents out there. How you deal with your grief and loss is going to influence your children. If you shut down, if you pretend to be brave, if you hold it all in, they're going to think that that's the way they need to do things. And when you hold it all in, you don't, it's like you don't allow yourself to experience all the good emotions in this world. It shuts down your sensitivity to the joy of life. What a horrible thing, you know? And that was what I lived for like 40 years, is like just this kind of gray area of okay, acceptable, achieve, but not really allow myself to feel joy or even love. It's only, in breaking through that I was able to finally access all those emotions.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm hoping that they will be able to share their emotions with their children so that their children know that that's okay. It's okay to grieve.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if you have questions, and I don't know who's out there, but please put it in the chat. I'd be happy to answer. We don't have a lot of time left, but we have a few more minutes, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
And you do have a gift for the folks.
I do have a gift, and that is my complex grief assessment. And you go to complexgrief.com checklist.com,
Yeah, they
complexgriefchecklist.com.
put the
And they put
link
it in
in.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
So you fill out, it's not it's like 10 questions, I think. And you fill out the form and you get an assessment back. And also some follow-up emails to tell you what your next steps are to help you. If you have complex grief, you'll find out because there's some really very obvious signs that you're struggling with complex grief. And that will help you to know. And if you've been, if you were shut down like I was shut down, you would have no idea that that was going on. So this is
Yeah.
to help you to realize what's going on.
And I have a question.
Oh,
Like, say
good.
if you're really shy and more of an introvert, and the idea of reaching out to folks, especially if you're feeling hurt and pain,
Yes.
seems like, whoa, I don't know if I
Scary.
could do that. So is there, like, I know you offer, the grief coaching, but
Yes.
where is places where folks can reach out to? Like if they don't have a close friend or family, like,
Well, there are always lots of community grief groups where you can go. And a grief group is a good place to be able to express your emotions. Now, there's a caveat to that. You can become attached to the people in your grief group and reluctant to let go of your grief because your participation in the grief group depends on you being a griever. If you do that, if you take that course, make sure that you connect with people outside of the grief group, that you develop the relationships separate from the grief group so that you actually have people that you can connect with.
yeah, yeah, and there. So that is beautiful there that we don't have to do it alone, but it's just funny how, as you say, you get attached to your grief because you really, that makes you a part of something, and but yet it's what you're going to be missing if you're holding on, or if it might not be you're holding on, but you're stuck in it, like you're just stuck, and that how much it can take away from your life and living, and especially if you're a parent, those years with your kids, like they're numbered, like they aren't with us, as
That's
children for
true.
very long. So important to
I want
be
to
able
put
to live.
across one more concept, and that is that people ask me, well, how can you do this work? Doesn't it depress you? And
Mm.
as I told you, I see myself as a midwife to your new life.
Ah,
Grief is a gateway, is a doorway. If you embrace it, it can show you where you need to go. It can show you what you need to work on. It is a guide and it is a direction when you allow it to be there. When you shut yourself off, you like shut off all these pathways. So for me, I love the work I do because I love helping people not only to recover from their grief, but to reclaim who they really are and who they're really meant to be.
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So folks, pick up that checklist and get your VIP package. There was so much value given here, and that'll allow you to listen to the replays. And please, please, if you are grieving, reach out to someone, and especially if you're a parent, do it for yourself and also for your kids.
Absolutely.
And is there any last words you want to leave us with?
Well, this is my last word for you. First of all, if you do sign up for the VIP, my gift is a full hour session with me, and we will have a breakthrough. We'll work on your most challenging issue. And my final last word is you are all essential. You're important. And it is really important for you to live your passion and your purpose because you make a difference in the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much, Michelle.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Patrice, for your questions.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing session from the Health, Wealth, and Wisdom Parents Edition. For the recordings of all sessions, plus an amazing VIP bundle, upgrade to VIP now. If you run into any problems during the summit, email our support team at admin@rolemodelmaker.com. Stay tuned, we have another fantastic guest coming right up.